I don't know, we lost him again, maybe. We can't hear you. I see your mouth moving though.
My mouth moving?
No, Will. We saw Will was trying to talk, but no audio was working.
Okay.
There's Donna. So Betty,
Yes,
if we want to discuss this tonight, somebody will just have to make a motion to amend the agenda.
they'll have to do that, yes.
Yes.
Jennifer called me before the meeting, so.
Okay, gotcha. There's Mr. Beaver.
There's Will.
I'm here.
Did you hear me, Will, a while ago?
No, I did not.
Okay, you chimed in on an email, and for some reason it didn't get through, the approval to send it on. You may have gotten it back, but I just wanted you to know I would make sure Dr. Marzak knew of your request.
Okay.
So, Mr. Sims, if you want to discuss it tonight, when we do adopt the agenda, you'll need to make a motion to amend the agenda to add that discussion item if you still want to do it.
Okay.
There was, the email was answered by Dr. Woodard and Dr. Marzak and so forth, but you're welcome to do that if you want to.
Okay. Are we going to be using voting through our BOE Connect tonight, or are we just going to voice votes?
My question will be to you all, do you have another device on which you can vote other than the one you're seeing Zoom off of? I have both things going, so actually I could do the BOE Connect, but you would need a second device.
Yeah, I do have a second device, but it started to update on its own, and it's been going about 20 minutes and is not close to finishing. So I don't
We
know.
It was a Microsoft.
Yeah, the agenda is not very packed tonight, so we certainly can do maybe a voice vote for some of it, and and then a roll call. Either way, if some don't have two devices, we'd have to do a voice vote for them. So not a problem. Oh
Okay.
gosh, sounds like Marzak. How many you got right now? You got Beaver and Sims, and that's all?
2, 3. We've got 4. Let's see, Kinzer, Sims, Donna, Morency, and Beaver. We've got 4 so far.
Okay.
Here's Chad. There's 5. All right, there's David Moore, and here comes Jake Oliver. We now have 6.
Jake Williver's not a voting member.
David Moore makes 6.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple of minutes, so we'll wait. See.
Kind of shows he's supposed to be with us too. It's a day-to-day.
I actually have a gavel.
Hey, Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way that I can see everybody?
Yes, are you on a computer or are you on a phone?
I'm on my iPad.
Okay, so do you see the black window where the video is located?
Mhm.
There should be some buttons at the top. Click the one that's the 9-digit array, and that should expand it. And if not, reach in and do.
Wait a minute. Oh, participants, where it says participants?
Yes.
And do I hit each one of them?
They will come to the forefront when they speak. Do you see at the top where you've got like a line, a box, 2 boxes, and then a 9-digit array at the top of that black window?
I don't know what a non-digit array is.
I've got, hey, Donna, I've got it screaming at the bottom. So if anybody's speaking, you can just take your finger. I can't see me. What do I look like?
Oh,
You're
I
not
can see
showing any video.
me. I can see Chris, I can see Will, and I can see Eric.
I can see all of you at the bottom. Now it's gone to something else. It's got.
Mr. Fulbright is in. We have 7. Here comes Miss Parker. We have 8.
Chris is asking me to join another meeting. What's that about? I mean, the screen is now join a meeting.
Do you still see us?
No, I do not. I'm trying to ignore it. So let me see.
Ignore it,
There-
yes, because we can hear you. You're fine.
Can I see me?
No, can't see you. Hold on one second.
That's probably a good thing.
There we go.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Natasha Hopkins is coming.
Oh, now I see me. Ooh, that's scary.
We now have
Okay.
8.
Who's that?
Trying to get situated.
Nope, so I just lost it.
There's Natasha.
So all we lack is Atkinson.
Let's see here. Atkinson. Yes, that's what it looks like. Yes, ma'am. And of course, Mr. Dudley.
Of course. Well, I'm ready to go.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is the April meeting, regular meeting of the school board, and we want to welcome everyone that watches us on YouTube or is signed in to be here. First order of business is roll call. Are you prepared to do that, Mr. Moore?
No.
Okay. Ms. Parker. Ms. Parker? Is Ms. Parker on?
She is. I think she's still connecting possibly.
Okay, Ms. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Fulbright?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Atkinson? Mr. Sims?
Here.
Mr. Beaver?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Ms. Morency?
Here.
Mr. Dudley is absent, so we definitely have a quorum. Okay, guys, I'm going to have the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. I think that everybody would understand that we're not going to stand up so they can see our waist. So if you will join me in putting your hand over your heart, and let's have the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States
of America
And
and
to
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the next order of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
What's that, Mr. Moore?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't know who that was. Chad Howell, was it? Who seconded the motion?
Chad Howell.
Okay, I don't see you, so you just have to tell me. I usually know your voices. So this motion has been made, and second, is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I would like to amend the agenda.
Okay, what would you like to add?
Can we add discussion of the use of funds for the teachers to prepare packets?
Okay, and we will move that down under new business. Okay, we'll have to vote on the amendment. First. Okay.
Chair Kanzer,
Yes.
I'd be willing to amend my motion to include that.
Is that all right, Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Second, okay.
All right, then we're going to vote on the motion to, as amended. So all those in favor, let's try a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Or look, we can do let's try if you've got two things, you can see me, it's coming up on mine to vote. See if we can do an electronic voting, okay? If you've got two devices. So I'm going to vote, you vote if you have to. If you don't,
Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That would work.
thumbs up. All right, Mr. Sims is a thumbs up. Who else?
Me.
Albright, thumbs up. Okay, Mr. Beaver, you voted. Ms. Hopkins has left the room.
I gotta get turned around.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. Ms. Hopkins, do you vote yea or nay?
I put it in yes. It said okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry, but yes.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. Then that motion does pass. Okay, next is recognition and announcements. Are there any? No? Okay, moving on. Mary County Education Association. Ms. Inc.
Okay, let me find her. There she is. All right. Can you hear me, Miss Inc?
She told me she couldn't hear anything.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me more. She's in here twice. Let me see if I can get her the second time. She's in here. Okay, let me see if I can bring her back into the meeting. Hold on one second. Jennifer, can you hear us? There's her icon.
I know she's planning on reporting because we talked
Yes.
earlier.
Okay, here we go.
I just saw Mr. Moore's, all his medals behind him.
She's getting her video hooked up.
Okay.
I decided to go to work so I could have multiple screens to see this stuff from.
Exactly.
Hey, yeah, me too.
Okay. Let's see here. Jennifer Inc. Okay, Jennifer's on her laptop. She's talking to Tommy.
So let's see here. So she got the speakers right. So at the very top, there should be select a microphone.
Okay.
I could call her on my phone and she could, and put it on speaker and she could speak into the microphone.
That's true.
Do you want me to do that?
She said she has audio and she can hear, but I don't know if my voice comes across. That was less than a minute ago.
Okay, I'm going to try to call her and see if, because I could put my phone on speaker and you all be able to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, and she can hear me. I'm just let her. We'll work it out when she.
Okay. Jen, this is Betty, and you are on speaker on the meeting. So we think that if you want to make your report over my phone now, that we'll be able to hear it and record it.
Yes, ma'am, that'll be fine. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Good gravy.
Careful.
I said gravy.
I know.
Okay. So basically, we are in such a surreal time right now, including this very moment, where I can't find the document that I was looking for. There it is.
Can you all hear her all right with my phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay. I'm just going to do the speech that I normally do.
All right.
Chair Kinzer, Dr. Marzak, and board members, our current situation can only be described in no other way than surreal. With all our chaos we have gone through in a month, from minimal concern to don't leave your house if you don't have to, I can honestly say I'm most proud and impressed with all of our Murray County employees. There is no way anyone could prepare a contingency plan for this that would be perfect and exceptionally executed. However, I will have to say that with less than a day's notice, our faculty and staff got it done with the work packets. Big props to Brian Parkhurst and the Murray County Public Schools Nutrition Department and all their employees who have sent out over 60,000 meals in little less than a month, all with grace and a smile on their face. Teachers have been Zooming, Googling, parading, emailing, texting, Facebooking, and coming up with various other ways to maintain contact with their students and families, and parents are noticing. And I have to say that this is all of their whole, in their own home, things are changing. As we are learning a new way of existing in our homes and communities, the district has encouraged self-care and calm while providing opportunities if desired. However, no pressure has been put on anybody in one way or the other. There were a few days when the number of emails and opportunities got to be a bit overwhelming, but that soon calmed down and people are taking advantage as they wish without a great deal of pressure. After the initial sets of packets went out to students, the governor and district extended the timeout for school when parents started asking for more packets and work to keep their children on course, or at least to have a routine in place in their homes. The logistics of every teacher in the district going back to buildings to develop new packets, copy or scan those packets, and deliver those packets to the varying meal delivery sites would be a logistical nightmare. And quite honestly, against the safe for at-home orders from the governor. Add to that the changes in employees' own households have had, the added burden of finding daycare so we could get the task accomplished would be overwhelming. We appreciate that there are teachers willing to take on a major responsibility to say they were willing to develop packets for the entire district for their grade level. This is quite a responsibility above the calling of other teachers, and a much better way logistically to handle the situation, to continue to serve our get our packets sent out and serve our students. We are grateful the district will show their appreciation by providing a stipend to those teachers who are really stepping above and beyond to undertake this. The other thing that this has really highlighted for me as an employee and a teacher and a parent is the disparity in our district and across the state in equal access. And I think as going forward, it's something that our state and our local has to really look at. And it took this crisis to really realize we are working on two very different dynamics in our district as far as what people have access to, information, technology, internet, and how accessible things are like that. So I think it really has opened the eyes in our district. It opened my eyes in a major way, as well as the state. So hopefully with the money coming down from the federal government, we can use some of that to equal the playing field a little bit. Other than that, I just hope everybody stays safe and well and takes care of themselves. And I have nothing else.
All right.
And just thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. You
Sure, no problem.
you stay safe as well. Okay, Dr. Marza, the next thing is public delegations. Is there anyone that is logged in to speak? Okay, next is staff reporting. Was there any reporting that you all had?
Mr. Beaver, you raised your hand.
Excuse me?
Mr. Beaver, did you mean to raise your hand?
No, scratching my head.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no.
You raised your hand on the software program. Gotcha. I lowered your hand. Gotcha. All righty. Ms. Kinzer, nobody has raised their hand to speak or said anything.
All right, next is consent items. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Mr. Moore made the motion to accept. Mr. Howell
Second.
seconded the. Okay. Is there any discussion? Then we will vote electronically if we can. If not, then we'll let me know who can, and we'll just do a roll call for them. Okay. Once again, if you just joined, if you have 2 devices, that way we can do electronic voting. Who
Mr.
needs to
Sims, yay or nay?
Right.
Where's Mr. Sims? Oh, there he is. Okay, gotcha. Had to find your tile there for a second. Sorry about that.
Were we all able to electronically vote?
And that motion passes 9-0.
Okay, thank you. Good.
You're
All
welcome.
right, next is new business, and new business, of course, is finance. Mr. Laconin, we may have some questions about everything because since we've met, many things have changed and happened. But they're budget amendments that we need to approve as well.
Correct.
Is there any?
Budget Amendment 9107. Just know that we're not going on any travel for the remainder of this year.
Okay.
Just moving money away from some travel and training lines and moving it into equipment because we know we're going to have some money left over in these line items with no money coming out of fund balance. And the same goes for the other budget amendment 908. And these are CTE funds. So there's the grant.
And I don't know, can you all hear me? This is Shifra.
Yeah.
Both of these amendments, you all had already approved them at consent agenda, but these were originally formulated by the CTE department in February before everything went down. So they wanted to change them compared to what was approved at the work session at the beginning of March. So that's why they were pulled out of consent and put under new business. So pretty much a version of these were already approved at the work session. It's just these were changed, like Doug said, since they don't have any more travel, they were anticipating those amendments for a different purpose. So.
Okay, well then, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
That was Mr. Howell. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded, I guess, by Mr. Moore.
Correct.
All right. Any discussion? All right, then we're ready to vote.
Please vote now. Gotcha, Mr. Sims. Okay, motion passes 9-0.
All right, let's go back, Mr. Laconin. I know we all are a little bit concerned about the budget process. I know some things came down from the comptroller about the budget and all and where we are as far as are we going to make it through the year okay? Or give us an update.
So the good news is we've received all of our property tax revenue pretty much for the whole year. The second good piece of news is that the state is doing everything they can to fully fund BEP. So those are our two largest revenue sources. That's exciting to hear that we feel good about the rest of this year. Now, things that'll take a hit are all of the things we get from the Department of Revenue. So you'll see sales tax. We'll have a letter from the Department of Revenue April 20th that will tell us how March did for sales tax, and then May 20th for how April did. These are going to be very huge indicators of how big that's going to impact our state revenues. The county side is going to be more impacted by this because they have so many state generated. Because our sales tax is such a big chunk, it all hurts us. Our mixed drink tax, which is about 200 some odd thousand a year, that will also be affected. So those are a few revenue line items to keep an eye on. Luckily, because we're not in school, there's some expenditures that we can't help but keep incurring. The utilities don't just all of a sudden stop on these buildings, and Eric can really answer to that. But there are costs. We're still paying payroll pretty much the fullest extent. So our expenditures are going to be expended, and we're trying to make sure that if we have things that we need, now's a great time to get into the schools and spend money and do the maintenance that we need to do ready for when we do go back without all of the population moving through the schools. So impact us through sales tax, and I really won't know exactly how much until I get that letter on April 20th of this month. I'll let you all know how it comes through. Also, I spoke with the Department of Revenue last week and today, and it does not look like May 1st is a reality to have our new sales tax increase going. So that's going to probably be a June 1st or even July 1st or maybe even later due to COVID and how the state's operating and how they've had to deal with change as well as we've had to deal with change. That's really the update I have for you.
All right. Are there any questions any of you all have?
Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. I thought that was it. My apologies. And also, the comptroller's office wants us to get a budget approved by June 30th. That would be exciting. The good news is that included with that is a grant to local governments that we heard about today for $1.2 million just for Murray County.
Oh, that's wonderful.
If we work together and we can get some budgets in and get some budgets approved, let's work together for the community and for Murray County and get that grant and approved. So, yeah.
What we're going through right now changed the process about when we'll see a budget? I mean, we've yet to see anything yet, and I know that I think the first budget meeting was supposed to be in the work session coming up. Are we going to be able to do that? Are we on schedule to look at it?
We're on schedule. There's some few things we have to tie up with the instructional budget. We can have a budget for later this month. What I've been told by the budget committee and what the comptroller's office has told me is basically what we're told on the school side every single year,
Yeah.
Because your revenues are going down, and they're right. Our state revenue with tax is going to go down. So if the money's not coming in, it makes us hard to have enough money to increase our budget. So a lot of departments are cutting their budgets and figuring out what they can do with and without which are services. But like we said, the BEP revenue is unfazed. And we also have property taxes coming in that should only have to deal with a delinquency rate on if people cannot pay their property tax. So I'm going to factor that into our revenue projection, and we'll look at a couple of proposals. And if you guys on the school board have any suggestions on what you want to see in a proposal, please just shoot us an email, and we can have that proposal ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any comments or questions that any of board members have? Okay.
And Betty?
Yes. Yeah. Kristen,
Sorry.
go.
I was just going to ask Doug for the work session. Can you kind of give us an overview of where we might have some savings in this budget? I mean, you mentioned utilities. I would assume they're not running at full steam, and I would assume gas we're saving on and some things like that. Can you give us somewhat of a projection on where we are going to have some savings? I understand that we won't have. I understand that might be difficult to track, but just kind of a ballpark on what we potentially have in savings through this.
I'll make a note to bring that to the work session on the 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know next is zoning of facilities. I know there's nothing to vote on, but I think, Eric, I think we would like to hear just what's going on with our buildings and all. Can you give us a really brief report?
Hey, Betty.
Yes, excuse me.
Sorry, I did the raise hand thing. I wasn't sure if that was.
I can see you. I can't see everybody, so that's fine. Just speak that, whatever
Okay.
works.
So a couple of questions for Doug. I guess I'm definitely interested in the savings as well. I'm just, things like fuel for the buses. Since we're not running bus routes, there has to be some savings there. And I would be definitely interested in what all of those look like. I'm going to kind of go backwards to something we talked about last time about the sales tax. And has there been any progress made on discussions with the other municipalities, Spring Hill and or Columbia or Mount Pleasant, about collaborating on that?
As far as I know, correspondence was sent out. Jake, myself, and Dr. Marzak conferred on that. They may have an update for you if they got a response back.
Jake, have you heard anything? Let's see where Jake Mulgrew
I
is.
can't hear.
Can you hear me?
There he is. Gotcha.
All right. No, other than from the county attorney, haven't heard anything.
I mean, I know everything's kind of crazy right now, but I would definitely like to make sure we stay on top of that. It seems like the state is going to give us a little more time before the entire thing is enacted. So if we can just stay on top of that, I know I'd hate for it to just kind of slip through the cracks when it's an opportunity for us to capitalize on that. And it sounds like we're going to need every penny we can get that's coming in.
Well, what we asked was to be put on agendas, so hopefully we'll be seeing that pretty soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, pertaining to savings, you're right. Fuel and buses, there's some personnel that's intermittent that only get subs that only get jobs if there's a vacancy in a position. So there will be a small savings there. Obviously, our travel and our training line items, some of those trainings we can still do because we can do it just like this digitally. But the mileage and the hotels, we'll see some cost reduction on that. But I'll do a full report at the work session.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Mr. Lacona? Okay, Mr. Perriman, can you just let us know how our buildings are doing?
Yes, ma'am. We actually spent the day at Baker today getting the Murray Regional Program ready to start tomorrow. Talked to ABM. One of the things we mentioned last week was how we were going to clean those buildings. They're actually going to have a day porter, or they'll have a custodian with them the entire time they're there, from about 6 to about 9 each day. That way we can clean during the day, and then we'll sufficiently clean those rooms at night. We've worked with both ABM and SMS and devised a plan. They are working through our buildings right now one by one and going into a deep clean. We have a plan in place also. Whenever we come back to school, if it's this year, then about a week prior to, once we know we're going back, they're going to go back through and redo some things. But we've got everything in unoccupied mode right now, except for Baker. So we're saving on energy, obviously, because of that. The other thing is we're just not opening and closing doors. We're not running water. So we've done that. We started mowing. And this week, maintenance has fallen back to a call-in only for emergencies. We're walking the buildings each day to make sure they're okay. But we were far enough ahead based off of not having kids to work around the last couple of weeks. We backed off. Once the governor's order comes back off, and we're hoping that's on the 15th, that it ends on the 14th at 11:59, we will go back in. And we are kind of treating this right now until we find out kids are back in. We're almost in summer mode. We're starting to hit projects around campuses and doing some things that we would normally do in the summer. So we do have some vendors in right now doing athletic work through the money you set aside for Mr. Pointer, and then also some work that we were able just to move up from the start of summer to now, just some small jobs. So buildings are in a good place. We're checking them every day, and we will have savings, obviously, off of energy. I got the first news on buses today for fuel, and that was just for March. So in April, we'll see that as well. But everything seems to be running smoothly right now.
Okay, thank you. Do any of you have any questions for Mr. Perryman? Okay, then our last thing on the agenda is the discussion of the use of funds for teachers that you all received an email from Dr. Marzak that kind of explained that, as well as you heard Ms. Inc. Discussing it as well. So, Mr. Sims, do you want to speak to it?
Sure. I just kind of had a question. For one, had the teachers been approached at all prior to the discussion of extra funds? And if there are an excess of teachers, I mean, how do we decide which ones get it versus don't get it? If there's more than you need.
Dr. Marzak?
Yes, Mr. Sims. No, we didn't ask for volunteers on the front end. Didn't want people to feel obligated that they had to jump in and do it when they may be dealing and juggling multiple things at home. We had this discussion in executive, had a conversation with Jake Wolliver, of course. The key thing that we're looking at here in light of the governor's orders and in light of schools being shut down, and there are other districts around the country that are asking teachers to do things, and it's creating a little bit of a problem because we've never been in this boat before. So we took a path as if it was like the summertime. So teachers are paid 12 months. Their contracts are split out by pay. So, for example, when they do special education professional development during the summer, they're also compensated at a rate of $25 an hour. So we took that exact same rate due to the fact that there was a precedent for this, and asked for people who would be willing to make those packets on a district level for that precedented setting rate of pay. Dr. Woodard's on here. They have already selected the group that will be making the packets. So if Dr. Woodard, if he could kind of chime in, I know his microphone is on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, yeah. Ron. Go ahead, Doc.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So, Mr. Sims, just to chime in and answer your question, we're using about 3 teachers per grade level, and we're starting with K-8. So this will impact less than 30 teachers, somewhere around 25 teachers right now, and we're talking maybe $300 per person. So we think that this will be significantly under $10,000, somewhere in the range of about $8,000 or so. And again, this is aimed at the directive that Dr. Marzak issued for the team to get these packets out due to what the parents were requesting. I believe that Mr. Cobb sent some information out to parents to find out if there was a need or desire for more packets, and there was a need. We also want to bridge the gap. We have lots of resources out there for kids who have online access, but we have kids in parts of our county who do not have online access, and those parents are asking for more information and more work packets. So this was really aimed at trying to do that. Since Jennifer Inc. mentioned leveling the playing field, all teachers are being paid. However, we're asking these individuals to go above and beyond and do the extra work to help us, keep this going. And so that was the reason for the packets. I mean, the stipend for the packets. I'd love to know what you all think about that, or what your concerns are around it.
Dr. Woodard, how did you go about selecting the people to do the packets?
We asked for volunteers. We sent a survey out to the whole county, so everyone had an opportunity to volunteer to do it. We received 92 individuals filled out the Google form. So of around that, we've around 1,000 teachers. 92 actually filled out the form and said they'd be interested, and we're going to use about a third of that to get it done.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Sims?
Yeah. I just seemed a little bit backwards in how it went down, I guess. Just receiving the email saying we're going to do it, it just kind of caught me off guard. Just with the email saying we're going to pay teachers $25 an hour without really having any idea of how it was happening beforehand.
I have a quick question.
All right.
If a teacher has not volunteered to do this, are they still getting paid their full 12-month salary?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're not expecting them to do any kind of contribution to furthering education during these weeks?
We have, according to the governor's orders, we have no expectation of staff of having to, by mandate, conduct any instructional business for students. If we do, we then have to mandate special education services, which would be very difficult to do with a stay-in-home order because we can't do physical therapy or occupational therapy. So it would put us in basically hot water legally. Other school districts, I know there's a district in Hampshire that a special education lawsuit is already being developed because they're mandating work being done by students and turned in, yet they're not offering special education services for children.
Off the top of your head, do you remember when the governor put that into place?
The state.
If not, I can look it up.
Not the shutdown, but the stay-in-home order.
The one that addresses teacher compensation.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
Okay, never mind. I think I've talked myself into a circle.
That's okay.
You answered my question, though. Thank you.
Okay. Miss Kinzer, Miss Parker has her hand raised.
Okay, fine. Ms. Parker.
When do you think the packets will be ready?
We had a conversation today in executive. Dr. Woodard said that his soft target right now is about the end of this week or middle of next week. He has selected the teams. The teams are going to start to work. So we're hoping to have information out within the next 4 to 7 days.
Okay.
Can I chime in there, Dr. Malzak?
Sure.
Ms. Kinzer, can Dr. Woodard chime in?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to give some context to Ms. Parker's question. I hope this helps Ms. Parker. We're rolling this out in 3 phases. In phase one will be content collection. So teachers will be dropping content into a shared folder, and then we're going to collect that content. And then phase 2 of this is where my department will pick this up. We take the content the teachers have given us, and then we begin duplicating this information and trying create the physical packets, and we sort the packets, et cetera, by grade level and by subject, et cetera, putting those together. Then phase 3 is going to be the distribution phase, where we actually physically get those packets to the meal sites. So that's going to be the process.
So the teachers are actually going to be dropping content in. They're not necessarily coming in at this point. They're just doing this electronically, remotely from home. Is that true?
Correct. We've not asked them to leave the safety of their homes due to the governor's mandate. No, ma'am, we've not.
Okay. Another question I would have for you though, isn't the stay-at-home order only through the 14th at this point?
At this
Yes,
point, yes.
yes, ma'am.
59 at this point on April the 14th, yes.
So if we're not even ready to distribute anything, then potentially it will be feasible for people to go out on the 15th. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. It seems a little misleading, honestly, what was asked for, especially if all that's really being asked of certain teachers at this point is to drop content into a shared folder that they can do from the safety of their home. There's no question about getting childcare or anything like that. I mean, they could do that when their children go to sleep. So I'm just wondering how many teachers potentially missed out on this opportunity. And I will say, I do think that asking for volunteers for this would have been a better route. I think there are a lot of teachers that are certainly, I mean, this is unprecedented for all of us. But for something that I just don't know. I don't really understand what was done in the weeks prior to the stay-at-home order to roll out the second packet. I mean, I know we're paying curriculum and instruction to work on this stuff. I mean, to prepare as well. I mean, if y'all are ultimately going to be responsible for culling the information down to develop a packet, why couldn't that have been done 2 weeks ago?
Ms. Kinzer?
Yes.
So,
Mr. Marzak. Dr. Marzak.
Great question. So your question is why couldn't this been done weeks ago? So this is actually packet number 2. So packet number 1 was developed on March the 16th and sent home to give parents voluntary information to be working with their children as we move through. At that time, we weren't sure how long we were going to be out of school. We weren't sure if it was just going to be a couple weeks. So as we were going into spring break and as I was having conversations with Mayor Ogles, and he's giving me sensitive internal information, not only from the state of Tennessee, but also from the CDC and the White House, I realized that we may be out longer than April the 27th. So last Monday, when we had the discussion at executive around, do we really want our kids to be out that long? Some kids don't have internet access. Some kids don't have access to critical educational information. And for us to potentially be out longer than April the 27th, do we want our kids to go that long with just the first packets that were delivered on March the 16th? So we discussed it last week in executive, and the decision was made by me that we needed to move forward and ask parents if they would like to have a second round of voluntary packets. The survey went out last week. It was open for 3 days, and a majority of parents said, yes, we need more things. Some said we don't. Some said we'd like to have it digitally. So we are going to make the information digital as well, but it is also going to be available for pickup. And so parents can voluntarily use it if they need to.
Well, I appreciate it being, as a parent, I do appreciate the idea of it. I just think that for $8,000 when we are in pretty uncertain times and we don't exactly know what our budget's going to look like and a lot of other things, I just wonder if preparing a packet and spending an extra $8,000 on it for something that's not even going to be graded is really a valuable investment. I mean, there's a lot of free resources. There's a lot of free resources that could be printed off without having to, you know, I would assume that we have plenty of experts in the curriculum and instruction department, and probably even in some of the other departments that could work on putting together something that would be beneficial. I know the teachers, when they prepared the first packet, were in some instances given, you know, a lot less than 48 hours to prepare something. I do think that we need to make sure that we're using our resources in the best way possible. And I'm just not sure about this, honestly.
Answer?
Yes, who's saying that?
Oh, sorry, that's me. Sorry. Yeah, Ms. Parker, I mean, you know, you're exactly right, and you're dead on. These are unprecedented times, and we're trying to make the best decisions we have with the information we have at the point. One little piece of solace that we've discussed 2 weeks ago at executive that Mr. Laconin may be able to elaborate on is all of the funds that we use to address COVID-19 have the possibility of being recouped through FEMA funds once this is all over. So because this is a COVID-19 response, this may be a reimbursable expense. So I'm not sure if Mr. Laconin could elaborate on that conversation we had, but we did discuss this.
Hey, everybody. So to elaborate on that, that's all a potential. There's nothing in writing. The only thing that's in writing so far is how much that the state and federal government has allocated for stimulus packages. And looking at the amounts that they've allocated, you look at it as an individual and you see, oh, that's a lot of money. But then you divvy it up between, 50,000 counties across the United States of America, and it turns into quite a small pot of money. So we'll see what comes in from that. But we are documenting every expense that we make that it pertains to COVID with a project cost center of 019. So it'll be included when people submit requisitions and when we pay items that are specifically for COVID. I do have a question. Sorry, executive team, because I had to leave the executive meeting early today. But is the executive team, how are the teachers documenting their time and getting it to payroll to be able to process this payment for?
We would be using a standard stipend claim form, the same form that they use for tutoring.
But how will it prove that they actually work that time? How are we documenting the time worked?
Doug, you're breaking up on me. Say it again.
He wants to know how you're going to document the time worked if they're doing it digitally.
The teachers will be documenting that on the stipend claim form. Again, I have to trust that they're actually doing what they said they're going to do.
Okay. Any other discussion? I don't think this requires a motion. This is the
information.
Yeah. No other questions or comments? Then there's no other business. So is there not? Okay, we're good. I will say this, and this is personal. I cannot imagine that we'll be in school when we think we will. Once again, I'm one of those that's locked in their house. And so I watched a lot of this and concerned about it. But realistically, the more we can do for our kids and provide for them at home and for the parents and give them that support, I'm all for that. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Moore and Mr. Howell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Have a great evening.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.
See y'all.